The narcissist tries to gaslight you. But you're not that person anymore. We live under the assumption, maybe even the delusion, that most people operate with a shared set of rules. That kindness is mutual. That communication implies comprehension. That when someone says, "I love you," they mean roughly the same thing you do when you say it. But that assumption, it's dangerous. Because not everyone you meet is playing the same psychological game. Some people aren't playing at all. They're hunting. Now that's a horrifying idea, and understandably so, because it means that empathy, the very quality we cherish most in our relationships, can become your blind spot. The thing that opens the door wide enough for a manipulator to walk in, smile, and take a seat at your table. Narcissists don't feel the way you feel. They don't think the way you think. And if you go into that dynamic assuming reciprocity, you've already lost. You'll spend months, sometimes years, thinking, if I just explain it better, if I just love harder, if I just wait a little longer. But the truth is, the narcissist was never confused. They're just wired to exploit. This isn't a matter of intelligence, it's a matter of clarity. The faster you can see it, name it, and stop moralizing it, the faster you get your life back. So today we're not going to whisper about it, we're going to expose it, strip it down, illuminate it. Let's begin. Firstly, Adelian logic masquerading as human. You're not crazy for expecting decency, you're human, and that's precisely the vulnerability. See, we enter relationships with a fundamental premise, that the person across from us possesses a moral compass. However crooked, that still points somewhere within the realm of human experience. But when you engage with a narcissist, you quickly realize something's off. It's not just that they don't care. It's that they don't register human emotional exchange in the same way. It's foreign territory. You're speaking in color, and they're hearing in grayscale. Now, you might say, surely they feel something. And they do. But not like you think. Where you feel empathy, they feel advantage. Where you seek understanding, they seek control. They imitate connection, but they don't participate in it. And the tragedy, most people can't see it until they're deep in it. Because the narcissist is a master at simulation. They mirror, they echo, they nod and cry and promise change, but it's all scaffolding. Hollow structure wrapped around a hollow center. Carl Jung once said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." But with a narcissist, you transform, you bend, you bleed, they remained intact. So the first step, recognize you're not negotiating with someone who shares your blueprint. You're speaking to a mirror that only reflects what it can take. And once you understand that, you stop waiting for the reflection to turn around. Second, the black hole of communication, strategic silence as psychological warfare. Communication, real, honest communication, is one of the foundations of human civilization. It's what allows two sovereign individuals to reach across the chasm of their subjectivity and build something. A bridge of meaning, a mutual reality. But the narcissist doesn't use communication to build. They use silence to dominate. Not the silence of thoughtfulness or reflection, but the silence of negation. Strategic, calculated, punishing. You send a message, you make a request, you speak your truth, maybe even softly, carefully, and they don't respond. Not because they didn't see it, but because they did. And they want you squirming in the gap. That void, between what you gave and what they refuse to give back, becomes a vacuum that sucks your confidence out. And in your confusion, you begin to doubt yourself. You start thinking, did I say too much? Did I come on too strong? Maybe I shouldn't have said anything at all. That is the point. Because when they withhold communication, they shift the power dynamic. They force you into a role you never consented. Todd the chaser, the supplicant, the one who now must perform, apologize, or beg just for the basic decency of being acknowledged. Understand, this silence is not neutrality. In the narcissist's world, silence is control. It's their preferred form of domination. They know exactly how long to wait, how little to say, how ambiguous to remain, just enough to keep you on the hook. The remedy, detachment. Refuse to play the game, because your voice should not require permission to matter. Third, boundaries are optional. To them, a boundary, psychologically speaking, is a moral structure. It defines what is you and what is not you. It says, this is where I end, and you begin. That's not selfishness. That's identity. That's integrity. But to a narcissist, a boundary isn't a wall, it's a challenge. You say no. They hear maybe. You say stop. They hear not yet. You lay down a clear line in the sand. And they start pacing, smirking, waiting for the wind to blow it away. Why? Because they do not believe in the separateness of others. They believe in ownership. And ownership to them means your limits are inconvenient, a puzzle to solve, a door to push open, And here's the tragedy. Most empathetic people, the ones who set soft boundaries with hope in their hearts, are crushed by that persistence. They mistake the erosion of limits for connection. They think, they must really care. They won't give up on me. No. They won't give up what they get from you? There's a difference. Love respects limits. Control disrespects them. And every time you compromise on a non-negotiable, you teach the narcissist that your will is flexible, your soul, bendable. So make your boundaries solid, speak them once, reinforce them without rage but with resolve, and if they cross the line again, you don't explain it again, you end the conversation, because where boundaries are ignored, identity is erased. Fourth, laws are for mortals, narcissistic contempt for external authority. There's something deeply unsettling about realizing that a person you once trusted, maybe even loved, has no regard for the very structures that hold civilization together. Most of us operate under a moral order, if not divine then at least legal. We stop at red lights, we obey court orders, we honor agreements. Not just out of fear of punishment, but because we believe in the necessity of rules, in the civilizing influence of law. But the narcissist, they view law as a suggestion for other people, a restraining order, just ink on paper, a divorce settlement, a temporary nuisance. They twist, they manipulate, they reinterpret. And when you call them on it, they act offended, as though accountability is persecution. Because to them, rules are for the ruled, and they don't see themselves as ruled. They are the exception, the sovereign, the special one. And the danger here, it's not just moral, it's existential. Fifth, gaslight limpage in small petty doses. Not all war is loud. Sometimes, it's the quiet rearrangement of your reality, piece by piece, until the ground beneath your feet no longer feels like your own. Gaslighting, in its purest form, it is not a single lie. It's a sustained campaign of subtle manipulation. It's when your keys go missing, and you're told gently, you probably misplaced them. It's when you remember the conversation, word for word, but they insist it never happened. It's not denial. It's erosion. You see, the narcissist understands something most don't, that chaos, introduced in microdoses, is more effective than any grand betrayal. Because when you fall suddenly you react. But when you sink slowly, you adapt. And that's exactly what they want. To normalize the bizarre, to acclimate you to madness. Eventually you stop trusting your own perception. And once they've achieved that, once they've colonized your internal compass, they no longer need to lie. You'll do it for them. Viktor Frankl once said, we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. But in the hands of a narcissist, that adaptation becomes surrender. The antidote: journal everything, speak it out loud, validate your memory with your own voice. Because if you don't anchor your reality, they will. And when truth becomes unstable, freedom follows close behind. Sixth, recycled manipulation. Discard, hoover, repeat. There's a moment in every toxic cycle where you think it's over. The discard phase. The brutal exit. You think, finally, I'm free. But you're not yet. Because the narcissist doesn't leave to release. They leave to reset. This is the hoover phase, and named, fittingly after the vacuum, and they return, not as the same person who destroyed you, but as a new mirage. Softright. With new language, new eyes. I miss you? I've changed. I've been doing a lot of thinking. But this return, it's not rooted in remorse. It's a reconnaissance mission. They're testing for re-entry points, emotional vulnerabilities, unfinished longing, and if they detect even a sliver of hope in you, they'll slide back in, not to love you, but to finish what they started. Because for them, attachment isn't connection. It's consumption. They don't return because they realized you're valuable. They return because they realized they're empty. And if you believe them, if you confuse their chase with transformation, you'll find yourself right back in the same pattern. They only now with less of yourself to bargain with. So next time they knock, don't open the door. Remember, what's knocking isn't a person, it's a cycle wearing a mask. Break the loop, or be devoured by it. Seventh, weaponized empathy, using your humanity against you. Of all the weapons the narcissist wields, the most dangerous is not rage. It's pity. They cry when you leave. They collapse. They tell you about the trauma, the lonely illness. And it feels real, because you're wired to care, because empathy is your superpower. But in their hands, it becomes a leash. They know how to mimic suffering. They've studied you, remember. They know which wounds you carry, what language moves you. And when they sense the end is near, when your spine starts to solidify, they drop the mask and become the victim. And suddenly, you're the abuser. It's brilliant. Diabolical, but brilliant. Because now you're caught. Morally paralyzed. Your compassion becomes your captivity. You stay not because you're weak, but because you're good, and they know it. But morality, true morality, is not letting people destroy you in the name of their pain. Christ didn't turn the other cheek so abusers could have a free hand. He drew lines. He called out hypocrisy. He flipped tables. There's a time to heal the broken, and there's a time to walk away from those who break others deliberately. If your empathy is costing you your identity, it's no longer empathy. It's enslavement. You are allowed to say no with love. You are allowed to walk away in truth. And sometimes that is the most moral act of all. You don't escape a narcissist by fighting them on their terms. You escape by seeing, finally and fully, what they are, and more importantly, what they are not. Not capable of introspection. Not capable of true connection. Not capable of honoring your boundaries without coercion or contempt. The moment you stop asking, "Why did they do this?" and start asking, "Why did I tolerate it?" you reclaim authorship of your life. And that's terrifying. But it's also holy, because freedom doesn't begin with triumph. It begins with clarity, the kind that burns, the kind that rearranges the way you speak to yourself. Let them say you're cold, let them call you cruel, let them rage at your silence. You are not here to keep the peace in someone else's war. You're here to become whole again. And if this message reached you, really reached you, then do something bold. Say it out loud in the comments. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel. Watch the others. Share this with someone still crawling through the fog. Because the fog doesn't lift by itself. It clears when one voice says, "This ends with me," and maybe, just maybe, that voice is yours.